There's 22 days left until opening day of baseball season 2026. The Seattle Seahawks are your 2026 NFL champions. There's also now a question when it comes to the Super Bowl halftime format. Will we continue to see an alternative show along with the normally regulated Super Bowl halftime show? And what could this mean going forward now that we have experienced two different platforms for an entertainment show for the halftime event, as well as now having a newly cemented legend announce his retirement from the NBA? Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Mack Truck, a.k.a. your worst nightmare. Mack Truck, a.k.a. your worst nightmare. Mack Truck, a.k.a. your worst nightmare. Mack Truck. From the locker room to real life, this is the Mack Truck Podcast. My name is Mack Truck, talking sports, culture, and everything in between. Let's run it, y'all. Welcome back. We're back. We took a little bit of a hiatus after the Super Bowl. We got a lot of stuff to cover, so I appreciate you. If you're listening live, if you're watching live, thank you for joining us. Like I said, my name is Mack Truck. You're listening to the Mack Truck Podcast, presented to you by the Sports Adventure Sports Network, as well as you, the listeners, and really wherever else you get your listening streaming pleasure, which may be limited to, or not limited to rather, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, and again, really wherever else you get your audio streaming pleasure. Listen, the NFL season is over. Sam Darnold got the job done. Kenneth Walker III is your Super Bowl MVP. And frankly, I'm here for it. Being an NFC fan myself of the Dallas Cowboys, obviously I was salty to know that I'm still disappointed since 1996. The Dallas Cowboys couldn't get there. But my favorite player, DeMarcus Lawrence, got him a ring, so I can't be mad at it. Sam Darnold did his thing. Okay. Kenneth Walker did his thing. The entirety of the Seattle Seahawks did what every other team in the NFL has sought out to do. Listen, if y'all watched the game in any capacity, like the game itself, not just for the commercials, not just for both sets of halftime entertainment, if you actually watched the sport of football on your TV screen, okay, that game was very slow starting out. There's nobody in this natural-born green earth lifetime can say that game was fastly starting out. And when I mean slow, there was 4 field goals before the first touchdown in the fourth quarter. Let me remind you, the first touchdown of the Super Bowl for 2026 wasn't scored until early in the fourth quarter. Both teams, very much on the defensive side. This game was very much a defensively played game until the fourth quarter. Okay, the Seahawks get the job done, 29-13 over the New England Patriots and Drake May. Sam Darnold, again, closes the chapter on this year, starts a new chapter with now being a Super Bowl championship quarterback. Throws for 202 yards, goes 19 for 38 for passes and completion attempts, has 1 touchdown. Kenneth Walker III, 135 MVP yards with 27 MVP carries. And I'll tell you this, Kenneth Walker, don't sleep on him. And if you've been sleeping on him, you should be ashamed of yourself, because a man can tote the rock. I mean, he showed y'all all season. And really, technically, he started out as the backup. But that's okay. That's why it's next man up when somebody else goes down or somebody has to make a roster change. That's what sports is all about. When your number is called, you be there to perform and earn your take. Cooper Kupp, also now 2-time Super Bowl champion. 1 with the Rams, 1 with the Seahawks, 61 yards for 6 receptions over on the Patriots side. Now listen, I'm going to stop here for just a second, okay? If I'm a Patriots fan, I don't understand how the entirety of my fan base is upset. Well, obviously, the goal is to win the Super Bowl. To get to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, become a Super Bowl champion, get a ring. We all know that. Drake May is in his 2nd season, and he took y'all to the AFC Championship, won the AFC Championship, and just couldn't get it done in the Super Bowl. And that's okay. He's now going into his 3rd season, and now he's got this experience going into the postseason and almost going all the way in terms of winning it. I don't think there should be a Patriots fan alive right now that is upset. In fact, I think they should consider this a small version of a resurgence of a Tom Brady era, if you will. Drake May is him. I'll tell you that. Drake May is him. But this game, he wasn't him. Drake May struggled a lot. 295 yards, goes 27 for 43 for pass attempts and completions, goes 2 touchdowns, has 2 interceptions. Also, on the running side, had six carries for 35 yards. Mack Hollins, and listen, I don't care what none of y'all out here in this green earth say. There will be zero Mack Hollins slander anywhere. Don't come into my inbox. Don't come into my live. Don't come into the text line, the chat line. Don't talk about Mack Hollins in no disregarding way. We don't, listen, anybody with the first name of a Mac, okay, don't do it. There will be zero Mack Hollins slander on this show, this platform. Don't come, like I said, don't come in the text line, don't come in the chat. No. Mack Hollins goes 78 yards, 1 touchdown for 4 receptions. Listen, Mack Hollins, we love Mack Hollins. Mack Hollins is a very different character, but this is what makes the world go round, especially in the world of sports. No one's ever seen anything like Mack Hollins. And when I say that, I mean his antics. Obviously, like if you've watched the game, you know the game, you see that the man would really rather just be more in tune with earth than wear shoes. He plays football, so he is contractually obligated to wear cleats, but he walks into the stadium without cleats. He tries to warm up without socks and cleats. I dig it, frankly. And I dig the fact that, because his name is Mac, obviously anybody with the name of Mac, listen, probably goated in some way, shape, or form. Pun intended. Okay, pun intended. Listen, and here's the thing for me is, we're still sticking to football here. And again, welcome in if you guys are watching on the live feed. If you're listening on air, I appreciate y'all. Again, the Mack Truck Podcast, we're starting out, took a couple weeks off, hitting it heavy with the recap of the NFL season in its entirety in terms of the Super Bowl. Now, listen, football season is not really over if you're a football junkie, okay? We just had the Combine this past weekend, which we'll get into in the next couple shows within the next week or so, because like I said, catching up all the things. We got Combine talk, we got Pro Day talk, we got the draft coming next month, okay? Football season isn't really over. While there's no active NFL, football season is year-round because you have the UFL and the XFL starting. You also have the Women's Tackle League starting, and I don't want to hear people sit here and tell me that, oh, I'm a football junkie. You're not a football junkie to me until you find a women's tackle team in your area. Better start doing your research because, again, football season is all year. And not to mention, we're about to have women's college flag as a varsity sport in the NCAA. Listen, don't get me started. Y'all not football junkies if you don't know about the women's side of the sport, along with the NFL and collegiate football and the XFL and the UFL. I don't want to hear it. You will not change my mind until you do your research on your women's teams. We're going to have a whole entire series on the women's tackle game. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. Still sticking with the NFL here. So I don't know how many of y'all watch some of the other, and when I mean other, I mean like other sports shows. Like we are a sports show here at the Mack Truck Show, the Mack Truck Pod. I'm talking like the syndicated things on TV where we're trying to get to. Now, if you watch First Take, if you know who Chris Canty is, you know that he's tripping. So Chris Canty, and he has the unmitigated goal. And I don't understand how you could have some of these quarterbacks on here as top 5s for the NFC after the season. It's disrespectful. So Chris Canty was on First Take the Monday after the Super Bowl, okay? Obviously, if you listen to the show, you watch the show, Stephen A. has Stephen A.'s list where he goes through the top 5 or, top couple positions, sports moguls, things like that on his list for that segment. Chris Canty was taking a spot, and this is his list for his top 5 NFC quarterbacks for 2026. Now, listen, there's 4 quarterbacks on here that I agree with. There's one quarterback I do not agree with, and I will tell you why here in just a second. So number 5, he has Caleb Williams. Absolutely. Caleb Williams in his second season has done some tremendous things. He's done some Aaron Rodgers type things. Okay. Accuracy down the field is nuts. Accuracy in general in terms of his mid-range passing game, Obviously still needs work. He's going into his third year. That thing's going to iron out, especially with the now type of offense that he's running under a Ben Johnson. Okay. Number 4, Jalen Hurts. Again, I agree. Former, 2 seasons ago, Super Bowl champion, all the things. Okay. Not quite sure I would put him at 4. I also did a top 5, and we'll get into that here in just a second. Number 3, Sam Darnold. I think is a little bit disrespectful because he just won the Super Bowl. I don't think you could put him at number 3. I don't think that's fair. Frankly, I think he should be number 2. The person that he has for number 2 is very mind-blowing to me. Jaden Daniels for number 2 on the top 5 NFC quarterback list for Chris Canty's 2026. Now, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, I think this list is pretty blah. As a football player, as a former player, as a football junkie, this list isn't exactly terrible, with the exception of Jaden Daniels. And I say that because Jaden Daniels missed most of the season with a dislocated elbow injury. He was out most of the season. Chris Canty's reasoning, okay, for putting Jaden Daniels on this list at number 2 for 2026 was because of what he did in 2024. Boo-boo, that was 2 years ago. That was 2 seasons ago. So you're telling me, so that you, at that point, you might as well put Dak Prescott on there for what he did before he got the hamstring injury 2 seasons ago. Do you see how ridiculous you sound? Do you see how ridiculous you sound? That's absolutely asinine and, frankly, a garbage take. I like Jaden Daniels. He's got skyrockets and sky limits of potential. If he can stay healthy, he's absolutely dangerous. He is probably one of the most dangerous quarterbacks out here if he's healthy and he has an offensive line to keep him clean. And obviously at number 1, the MVP himself, Matthew Stafford. And there's no argument there. And here's my top 5. Very similar to Chris Canty's in terms of the calibers of quarterbacks. Again, at number 5, I had Caleb Williams for the exact same reasons I just stated. At number 4, I had Dak Prescott and Jordan Love. One, mainly because Dak Prescott and Jordan Love at this point to me are the exact same quarterback, except one plays for the Cowboys and one plays for the Packers. Neither one of them can seem to get over the postseason hump of either getting to the first round and losing or not getting to the playoff round in general. Number 3, I have Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff. Jared Goff has done some crazy things this season without having his offensive coordinator. Obviously, again, if you watch the sport, pay attention. Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions until he picked up the Chicago Bears head job in the last offseason for 2025-2026. Obviously, things didn't go the Lions' way in terms of losing people to a bunch of injuries. Lost Sam Laporta to back injury about week 5 or week 6. Sam Laporta is one of Jared Goff's many passing weapons, and now kind of just getting into some stuff in terms of trades, releases. David Montgomery, another asset for Jared Goff, is now no longer in Detroit. He's now, I believe, with the Atlanta Falcons. All kinds of things. We're going to talk about trade and stuff in the next couple shows as well. But just kind of sticking to the NFC top 5 quarterback list from Mack Truck here. Number 2, I have Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy. And now that I'm kind of reading over this and going back through my notes, obviously from the Super Bowl and all the things, I would even put Brock Purdy down to the 3-4 spot with Dak and Jordan and Goff and Hurts, and just leave Sam Darnold at number 2. You can't disrespect the person who just won the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, for me, at this point, is number 2. I got to bump Brock Purdy back just because kind of that same thing with Jaden Daniels. Brock Purdy was hurt a lot of the season with that rough turf toe injury. And obviously still at number 1 is Matthew Stafford, the MVP of the NFL season for this year. Listen, sticking with football though, okay, and this data in terms of what we're about to talk about with the Super Bowl halftime show, the actual Super Bowl halftime show, you can find it at nielsendata.com. So obviously, if you watched the game, you knew that Bad Bunny was this year's performer for the Super Bowl, with Green Day opening up the show, the festivities, and I don't think there was a better way that you could have did that. I'm a huge music fan outside of sports and entertainment and radio and such. Green Day is one of my favorite bands. Fun fact about Mack Truck, I learned how to play the drums by listening to a lot of Green Day songs. Bet you didn't know that. Either way, Like I said, Bad Bunny performed at the Super Bowl halftime show this year. Very exciting and controversial. We'll get into all the meat and bones of it here in just a second. But here's some number stats. 4.8 million on Telemundo, which was the most viewed halftime show on a Spanish network, mind you. Obviously, Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican. He is an American citizen. Let me just throw that out there right now for those y'all who don't actually understand how American territories work. Okay. Puerto Rico is an American territory. It is a U.S. territory. Therefore, people in territories of the United States are considered United States citizens. They may not live in the States, but they are a territory, meaning there is jurisdiction by the president and the administrative office for that being of state, town, province, country, however you want to put it. Bad Bunny is an American citizen. There's literally no arguing it. It is a factual thing. So if those y'all who didn't pay attention to school should probably do that. Anyway, that's the only thing I'm going to say in that respect. Now, the performance itself drew in 128.2 million viewers. Again, with Green Day opening the game day festivities, Bad Bunny comes in at number 4 historically in terms of most viewed halftime performances. Bad Bunny was number 4 with, again, 128.2 million viewers. Kendrick Lamar is number 1, which was 2025's at 133.5 million. Usher at number 3 with 129.3 million in 2024. And Michael Jackson in 93 with 133.4 million. So MJ is 2, Kendrick is 1, Usher is 3, and Bad Bunny is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 down the list. And I will also tell you that if you didn't, or say rather, not really tell you guys, but if you're somebody who is always wanting to learn, always wanting to ingest things, whether you know about them or not, or you're just watching the game just to watch the game, and you can't take your eyes off of the TV during the halftime performances because you either don't know who they are and you want to know their music, or you genuinely are curious, that's great. If you watched it just to watch it for a few seconds to say, oh, I didn't understand it, so I flipped over to the other one, that's okay too. But just know that there's always two sides to an explanation. There's two sides to the story. And to me, I think it's just, it's great that people wanted to watch and say, okay, like, I may not understand, but I'm watching because it is the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm watching because maybe it'll open my eyes to a new form of music, whatever that is. And if you don't want to change how you feel one way or the other, that's also completely fine. But in terms of just the controversy, like, let's understand that no matter how you're leaning about this, or how you were leaning about this rather, you can't negate the fact that Bad Bunny is an American citizen. I mean, that's not an arguing point, and I really wish people would understand that. Either way, now the Super Bowl halftime show itself also had very powerful messages, with an appearance by Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin. We're going to get to Ricky Martin in a minute, but in terms of Lady Gaga, so Lady Gaga had an appearance, just about 30-40 seconds of the Super Bowl halftime show, where she sang some of the lyrics in English and literally stated, "Is this what you wanted to hear?" An English part of the Super Bowl performance. And frankly, Spanish is Bad Bunny's native language. He is also an American citizen. For those of y'all who don't, again, understand history, there's no actual dedicated language for the United States of America. The native language for the United States of America is British English. It is literally British English. Look it up. If you don't believe me, you can find it on any search engine or any history book in the school system. Well, probably not in these school systems these days, but in any school system as of late, you can probably find it. That is a thing. So this controversy of people like, oh, I can't understand it, he needs to sing it and speak it in English. No, he doesn't. He does not. That would be like us going to Mexico or going to another country where they do not speak English, American, British English, whatever you want to call it, and us being like, them being like, oh, well, they need to speak how we speak, or we're just not gonna adapt. That's the point. It ain't his job to help you adapt. It's your job to adapt to what's going on. Either way, that's my little rant. Ricky Martin was also out there shaking it, La Vila Loca and all the things. Listen, Ricky Martin is my guy. I love it. I was such a huge fan of this performance because it's something that we haven't seen in a long time. The last time we saw something to this magnitude was Shakira in terms of the Hispanic culture. Moving on, Lady Gaga, like I said, in the middle of it, singing in English, literally shouted out, was this what you wanted? And again, like I said, one of the biggest complaints was it wasn't in English, blah, 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 all the things. We went over that. Now, what I'm not quite understanding is why there needed to be, or why there was such a need for an alternative show. I don't necessarily disagree with having an alternative show. I will say that. What I will say, though, however, is why did it suddenly need to be a thing now? Why weren't we feeling this way years and years ago? Like, why were we having an issue? Why didn't we have this issue when Shakira performed? Because I certainly don't remember any big turmoil like this. Like, why was it such an issue in 2026 that Bad Bunny was performing? Why? Because he's a almost completely Spanish-speaking individual. While he does speak English, again, not his natural language. Furthermore, the All-American show, and I've got some interesting points about this too, so just hang on here with me. And again, I appreciate you guys if you're listening live on the station, if you're listening live through the numerous social apps. Thank you so much for being here with us on the Mack Truck Show, going over some of the controversy and stats from the Super Bowl halftime show and the alternative, the quote-unquote All-American show. But my question is, in fact, we're going to save that. We're going to save my question for this portion, after this portion. Now, the All-American show had some of the great country stars in the lineup, with Kid Rock headlining, with Gabby Barrett, Lee Brice, and Brantley Gilbert. So it was obviously put on by Turning Point USA, or better known as the foundation that Charlie Kirk started years ago, prior to before his unfortunate assassination. And I'm looking at everybody, out here. I'm looking at the chat and everything. Like, I say unfortunate because he should not have lost his life. That doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with his politics or agree with the way he handled situations, things like that. Just like I don't agree with a lot of things on the other side. This is why I am independent. I try very hard to stay away from politics. However, I don't want there to be any confusion. He should not have lost his life for expressing how he felt or how he leaned. The same exact way as how Dr. Martin Luther King should not have been assassinated because he was an African-American man trying to mend the country together, because race was a even bigger thing back then. Just like former President Barack Obama should not have been given death threats because he was the first president of color. Just like Donald Trump should not have been, attempted to be assassinated last year. So I don't want to hear it. Either way, back to sports. So again, Turning Point USA put on this All-American halftime, or this All-American show rather. And here's some interesting things. It was pre-recorded. And yes, it was pre-recorded. You literally can look this up online at usatoday.com. And I was kind of surprised, to be quite honest with you. And that was from Kid Rock's mouth. Again, you can find this on USA Today, which is where I got this information. I get all my sports information, obviously, from ESPN, Yahoo Sports, Fox Sports, all the things. We always try to cite our sources because we're not accredited yet, but we're getting there. Either way, USA.com, in terms of that quote from Kid Rock, and he did admit that the performance was taped on a private stage in or just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, despite the rumors of it not being. He did confirm that it was pre-recorded. It was, in fact, pre-recorded 2 weeks prior to the Super Bowl. And frankly, I think, and now that it's been a couple weeks, like the goal of sports is to bring people together. Like, no matter how obviously, like, you're going to have your, sporting team rivalries, your favorites, all the things. But the goal of sports is to literally be able to step away from everyday issues, politics, wars, racism, issues with sexual orientation, things of that nature. It's literally meant to bring people together to get away from things or real world things, as people like to say, things of that nature. But I think it was a little bit immature, the Turning Point USA Foundation post Charlie Kirk, to put on something like this and wanting a separate form of entertainment, but I understand it. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not necessarily condoning it, but I understand it. If you're, somebody who's very straightforward thinking in terms of like, I don't really necessarily even know how to put this, but in terms of just like, you're very proud of where you grew up, how you grew up, all the things on either side. Again, either side. This is completely neutral here. Like if you're one person that's very proud of where you came from in any way, shape, or form, you're gonna want to have an entertainment source that's going to be relatable. That's going to be relatable to you. So the idea of having the actual Super Bowl halftime show and an alternative show is not, I'm not going to say it's necessarily terrible. I think it's wild that we've resulted to this. But in the same respect, that's what the Super Bowl is for, is to introduce new types of music from different cultures and to introduce some of the, quote unquote, American historic greats of music, pop, rock and roll, R&B, Hispanic music, Lady Gaga. I suppose she would be pop, Justin Bieber. And I wish that he would perform at the Super Bowl. Don't get me started. Anyway, listen, but that's what the Super Bowl is for, is to, put either up and coming stars or already well-known artists up on that platform. But if you don't necessarily align with that person, you can literally choose not to watch it. You can literally choose not to watch it. And I know people personally that literally stated, like, I tried to watch some of the Super Bowl halftime show itself. I didn't understand it, so I clicked over to the other one, and I felt more relatable to that one. I had people tell me the other way. Like, I started watching the alternative show and clicked over to the actual Super Bowl halftime show and could relate to both. So, it's obviously it's one of those things that you want to try to stay open-minded about all the things. Now, my question is, to kind of end this segment, is how can it be an all-American show if Bad Bunny wasn't included in it? Because Bad Bunny is an American. I'm just saying. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, because I don't think that I am. You cannot call it an all-American show if all Americans aren't included in it. Listen. That's really all I have left to say on that. And again, I appreciate you guys for joining us. This is the Mack Truck Podcast. We are back after a couple of weeks. Thank you for listening live on the station. Thank you for listening live here on all the other platforms. My name is Mack Truck. Listen, different topics, same energy. Let's run it. Baseball season. Opening day is 22 days away. I cannot wait. Official baseball season opening day is March 26th on a Thursday. The first game for the MLB season is on the 25th. The San Francisco Giants versus the New York Yankees. My New York Yankees. I'm calling it this year. Yankees are at least getting to the pennant. I don't want to jinx it too much, but the closer we start to get to the postseason, the more confident I'm going to get, depending on how the Yankees look. Spring ball has looked good. The World Baseball Classic is just starting. We're going to get into that. We got so much to catch up on and do. Listen, I just need you guys to really understand that some of these signings, and when I mean signings, I'm talking free agency for baseball, new contracts, things like that. Some of the things that have happened in the MLB postseason, going into the offseason, all the things have been nothing short of pure insanity. And I'm talking strictly contracts here. And just a side note, for those of you who don't know, Netflix, has been dabbling in live sports. In fact, the 2026 first baseball game opener, will literally be broadcast live on Netflix for the first time ever. The New York Yankees and the San Francisco Giants will be playing live on Netflix on March 25th. And frankly, I cannot wait. I'm absolutely ecstatic. Either way, going back to these free agent signings, the very first one And I have all of the key offseason signings and the contracts and the teams and all the things. To start off the offseason, Juan Soto, who plays for the New York Mets, has a 15-year contract for $765 million freaking dollars. What? $765 million for 15 years to play for the New York baseball Mets. That in its entirety is an insanity. And I'm still salty to this day because Steinbrenner and Cashman couldn't fork over $5 million extra to keep him on the baseball team for the New York Yankees. But listen, I ranted about that so much, but it just makes me even more salty that the New York Mets have that kind of money to give to Juan Soto. Maybe if you spread out that money, you could actually build a team that's a little bit formidable and maybe you could win a Subway Series. But seeing as how that hasn't happened in God knows how long, we ain't even going to go there. Either way, Kyle Tucker to the LA Dodgers for 4 years, $240 million. Dylan Cease to the Toronto Blue Jays, 7 years, $210 million. Alex Bregman goes to the Chicago Cubs for 5 years and $175 million. Cody Bellinger back with the New York Yankees on a re-signing, 5 years, $162.5 million. So glad we re-signed him. We'll get to him in another episode and all the other Yankees. We're going to have an entire baseball episode for the most part here in the next couple weeks. Stay tuned for that. Pete Alonso goes to the Baltimore Orioles for 5 years and $155 million. Ranger Suarez goes to the Boston Red Sox, 5 years, $130 million. Bo Bichette goes to the New York Mets and joins Mr. Juan Soto for 3 years and $126 million. And Framber Valdez goes to the Detroit Tigers, for 3 years and $115 million. Spring baseball has started at the end of February. And to see pitchers and catchers reporting and everybody in their spring gear, getting ready to go, I love it. Oh my God, I love it. Listen, if there's any time of year that just keeps me thriving, it's spring. Because there's so much that happens in spring, and it just seems like, the season of spring is rather short. Like, spring sports seems like they just stretch, and I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. Either way, I said, make sure y'all check out In My Bag Apparel by Evan Bradfield, the official sponsor and partner of yours truly, the Mack Truck Podcast, all things merchandise, all things Mack Truck. Right now, when you go online at inmybagapparel.bigcartel.com and use the word truck at checkout, you will receive 15% off your entire first order. Like I said, that's the word truck, TRUCK, for a full 15% off your entire first order when you order online at inmybag.bigcartel.com. Now let's flip the script, okay? Basketball, NBA, has been nothing short of interesting. I think the NBA finally figured out how to resurge its all-star issue that has been as of late prior to 2026. Okay, for those of you who don't know, the NBA All-Star break happened while we were off. Okay, the spark is back. The format that they have right now, as of 2026, they need to keep. It was a 3-game mini tournament, Team World versus Team USA. There was 2 Team USAs, Team Stars and Team Stripes versus Team World. 25 All-Stars. Again, 2 sets of Team USA and a Team World with 9 players. Round robin for the first 4 games, and then it was 12 mini games. So obviously, I'll do all the math. I don't feel like mathing. This is a sports show. The prize pool was $1.8 million, which I believe is one of the highest prize pools in the series of years for the 2020 games. Each player on the championship team received $125,000. The second place team, each person got $50,000, and the third place team, each person got $25,000. The Team USA Stars won the competition 47-21. Anthony Edwards ended up being that MVP with 8 points in the finals and 32 points total for the All-Star game itself. And frankly, when I finally realized that, it's All-Star weekend, I should probably watch this. Because if y'all know me, y'all know I be scatterbrained. I got the baseball here, MMA here, boxing here, women's tackle. I be just ping pong, and I see the laugh reactions over on the screen and everything. So I listen, y'all know how I do. By the time I was like, oh, I should probably watch that, I was like, I saw Donovan Mitchell crank out a half-court three to end it, to end one of the games. I was like, oh, I should have probably paid attention to this like years ago. Definitely not years, but y'all understand what I'm talking about. Either way, I think the NBA All-Star format needs to remain this way. I think they got to obviously, find ways to obviously switch it up. Maybe next year they do Team World and they break it up into, they break Team World up into two teams and then they keep Team USA into one, flip the script, something like that. That's just me. But either way, sticking with basketball here, a legend has finally announced his retirement. CP3, Chris Paul, officially announces his retirement from the NBA, announced his retirement via Instagram after 21 years of service in the NBA, 12-time All-Star, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He ranks number 2 in NBA history with 12,352 assists and 2,728 steals for his entire career. Again, he announced that the day before Valentine's Day on the 13th of February after hearing that the Toronto Raptors did end up waiving him. And I kind of thought this was going to happen just because, obviously when you play a sport for so long and you're dominant for so long, but you don't quite get to that spot, that you want to with your team in terms of getting a ring, those types of things. It starts to wear and tear on you. You start to build a family, your family and kids start to get older, all the things and you want to be able to just be a dad, be, a coach, whatever that looks like post-career. And I think that's where Chris Paul had been headed even when he was playing for my Golden State Warriors. Listen, hats off to CP3. That man helped change the game of basketball at the point guard position, literally proving that you don't have to be 6'3" to be a dominant point guard. Chris Paul is probably about as tall as me. I'm about 5'10". Chris Paul is about that same size. People used to call him the mini dynamo. Like, the man can ball. Okay. If you know, if you watch ball, okay. Chris Paul, thank you for your service, sir, to the NBA. Go out there and enjoy your retirement. And with that, folks, ends this episode of the Mack Truck Podcast. Thank you for joining us. That's it. That's all we have for this one. If you rocked with me and you rocked with us, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you share with somebody who really knows the game. Make sure you're following us on all the social medias as well as anywhere you get your podcasts and your audio streaming pleasure. Stay tuned. Stay sporty. We'll see you on the next run.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Mack Truck, a.k.a. your worst nightmare.